I'm Nashar on Capitol Hill. The government shutdown is headed into a second month, and if it goes past Tuesday, will be the longest in American history. President Trump losing his patience and now calls on Senate Republicans to eliminate a centuries-old rule that gives the minority party a say on most legislation. On the eve of Halloween, President Trump issuing a directive to his party that, for many, is a frightening scenario. In a pair of social media posts telling Senate Republicans to initiate the nuclear option, get rid of the filibuster, and make America great again.
What you're seeing is an expression of the president's anger at the situation.
The filibuster is a 60-vote threshold required to advance most legislation in the Senate. It's considered one of the last bastions of bipartisanship in Washington. If the filibuster was eliminated or a carve-out was created for this scenario, the Republican majority could pass the House Republicans' short-term budget and end the government shutdown. But Senate Republicans have to want it first.
Supermajority requirement is something that makes the Senate the Senate.
That was Senate Majority Leader John Thune October 12th. On Friday morning, his spokesperson said Thune's position on the importance of the filibuster has not changed.
The filibuster protects. It's been a voice for the minority. It gives the minority a say in what happens in this country. The founders created the Senate uniquely that way for that specific reason.
Following Trump's post, Republican Senator John Curtis of Utah says, "I'm a firm no on eliminating it." Through spokespeople, Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso, former Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Senator Tom Tillis were among those who also rebuked the president's request. That's enough Republicans to block any attempt to touch the filibuster. There is another person other than Trump calling to nix the filibuster, but he's not a Republican.
Carving it out the filibuster now would make it almost impossible to shut our government down in the future, regardless if it's the Democrats or the Republicans doing these things.
This week, the Senate failed for the 14th time to pass that short-term budget, as party leaders still have not engaged in direct talks with each other. As for the House, they're scheduled to remain out of Washington all week next week for the 7th week in a row. On Capitol Hill, I'm Nashar.
Democrats and Republicans remain in a standoff. President Trump is suggesting a more drastic measure to reopen the government. Let's go to Emma Withrow from the Fact Check team. And this is being called the nuclear option. It would drastically change the way the Senate operates. Yeah. Tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely it would. I mean, so the nuclear option, which is officially known as the reform by ruling, is really when only a simple majority of senators passes a new Senate precedent. So basically the Senate doesn't have to rewrite its official rule book to get rid of the filibuster. It can really just reinterpret the rules if they have 51 votes to agree with them.
So how would it all play out if Senate Republicans got on board with the nuclear option to just get rid of the filibuster?
So from my understanding, a senator would challenge how a rule is being applied. The person running the floor makes a ruling, and then the full Senate can vote on whether or not to uphold or overturn it. So a simple majority, 51 senators to vote on that to overturn the ruling, that new interpretation then would become the new precedent. It's really a way to change the system without the supermajority that's normally required to change the rules on paper. But even Republican senators have said that they wouldn't be willing to take this approach because it would open Pandora's box when it comes to passing legislation with just a simple majority rather than those 60 votes that are normally required. So it would really just give an unprecedented amount of power to whichever party is controlling both chambers in the White House.
And also interesting, Senate Majority Leader Thune breaking with Trump on this. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how far this goes. Emma, thank you.
Thanks.
Later on, Emma will be back to break down when the nuclear option was used in the past.
Right now, the president getting ready to head to Miami to speak at the American Business Forum in Miami. We just heard from him minutes ago at a breakfast with GOP senators at the White House about the election, about the shutdown, which he said inevitably had an effect on some races. And thanks for joining us. I'm Jan Jeffcoat. It's Wednesday, November 5th. Democrats did take some of those high-profile races, potentially reshaping the political landscape for some parts of the country and changing the Democratic Party for sure, with fears it is moving too far left. With the elections over, though, now, the question will be whether Democrats will finally vote to end the longest-running shutdown in history. Let's get right to Mark Boyle at the live desk. And, you know, Mark, the president said if Democrats don't do it, if Republicans don't do it, then Democrats will. So he said they should just go ahead and try to do it now if Democrats will not vote to reopen the government back up.
Right, because the president is painting this picture. Look, we have control in the House and the Senate and the executive branch, and if we aren't getting things done, the voters are going to get frustrated. He plainly put this out there during that breakfast, Jan, making those remarks within the past 45 minutes. Some of the big takeaways from that speech, including eliminating the filibuster. Here's part of what he had to say to lawmakers this morning.
The biggest thing is the filibuster. We have to get the country going. We will pass legislation at levels you've never seen before, and it'll be impossible to beat us. By the way, if they do, they're going to do it anyway, and they are going to immediately do the filibuster. And when they do the filibuster, they're going to pack the court. They want at least five justices. Now I hear it's up to 5. I actually heard up to 7 and up to 9, okay? They want new judges. They want to pack the court, and they will do it in the first day.
And this is the first time we've heard at length in person from the president following the major night for Democrats last night. A live look over Lower Manhattan here behind me, where the city of New York will have a new mayor, and that will be Zohran Mamdani. Here are some of the races we are monitoring, and we'll show you the results this morning for California, New Jersey, Virginia, and New York City. And that's where we'll start right now, where the Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani did win late last night. These were the numbers as they came in. 50% of the vote going to him. Andrew Cuomo with 41%. Curtis Sliwa coming in at just over 7% of the vote. At 34 years old, Zohran Mamdani now becomes the city's first Muslim mayor in history, as well as the first self-described socialist to hold office, in his own words.
New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
A lot of energy in that room. Moving on now to 2 highly watched races in Virginia. We'll start with the governor's race. It was Democrat Abigail Spanberger beating out candidate Winsome Earl-Sears single-handedly. No issue for her. 58%, 42% the split. And the race for Virginia's Attorney General Jay Jones, able to overcome that text messaging scandal from 2022 when he was found to be calling out the death of a political rival's family, calling for that death. The race right here fell like this: 53% to 47% to the Republican. The Democrat won that one. And in New Jersey, the Democrat Mikey Sherrill defeated Republican Jack Ciattarelli. We'll stay on top of these results for you and others on our website anytime at thenationaldesk.com.